In 1975, a young man stood outside a 7-Eleven in New York City. He had $106 in his pocket, no job, no apartment. He'd been sleeping in a bus station for 3 days, and in his arms was the only thing in the world he truly loved: his dog, a big, gentle bull mastiff named Butkus. He looked at that dog, and then he walked up to a stranger and sold him for $25. He said he walked away crying and didn't look back, because if he looked back, he knew he wouldn't be able to do it. His name was Sylvester Stallone, and what happened next is one of the most unbelievable true stories in the history of Hollywood. Let's go all the way back to the beginning, because this story doesn't make sense unless you understand where it started. July 6, 1946, a charity hospital in Manhattan, New York. When Sylvester Stallone was born, something went wrong. Forceps used during the difficult delivery accidentally severed a nerve in his face. The result: permanent partial paralysis of his left cheek, lip, and tongue. He came into this world already marked, already different. That slurred speech, that distinctive snarl, the thing that would one day become his trademark was, for most of his childhood, the reason other kids laughed at him. His home life was no easier. His parents fought constantly. By the time Sly was 9 years old, they divorced, and he was shuffled between relatives, foster homes, and his father's cold, physical discipline. His brother Frank would later describe their upbringing as genuinely abusive: a father who hit hard, a mother who wasn't much gentler. "I was raised by a very physical father," Stallone said. "I was no stranger to serious pain. I just became, I'm not gonna break." That refusal to break, hold on to that. It's the thread that runs through everything. He bounced through schools, expelled from so many that he eventually ended up at Devereux Manor, a school for troubled boys. He wasn't stupid. He was angry. He was hurt, and he had nowhere to put it. Until, at 12 years old, he walked into a movie theater. He watched a film starring bodybuilder Steve Reeves, a man who looked like a statue brought to life. And something ignited inside young Sly. He walked out of that theater and reportedly asked himself, "Do you want to be a bum or be like that?" He chose. He started training. He started dreaming. And somewhere in all that pain and chaos, he decided he was going to be an actor. Nobody believed him. He managed to get into the University of Miami on an athletic scholarship. He studied drama. For the first time in his life, he was in the right place. But 3 credits short of graduating, he dropped out and moved to New York City to chase what everyone told him was an impossible dream. An actor with a paralyzed face, a slurred voice, no money, no connections. For years, he barely survived. He worked as a movie theater usher. He cleaned lion cages at a zoo. He took any job that kept him from starving. At his lowest, he appeared in a low-budget adult film, not because he wanted to, but because he was desperate and a director handed him $200. "I was at the very end of my rope," he would later say. And then came the night he sold Butkus outside the 7-Eleven for $25. He went home to an empty apartment. No dog, no hope, no plan. And then, 2 weeks later, he watched a boxing match on television. Muhammad Ali versus Chuck Wepner, the greatest fighter in the world against a journeyman no one expected to last 2 rounds. And Wepner didn't just last, he fought, he bled, he got knocked down and got back up. He went the distance. Stallone watched that fight and felt something crack open inside him. He sat down at his typewriter, and for the next 20 hours he wrote. When he finally stopped, he had a screenplay about a broken-down boxer from Philadelphia who nobody believed in, who got one shot at something extraordinary, not because he was the best, but because he refused to quit. He called it Rocky. He shopped it around. Producers loved it. One studio offered him $125,000 for the script. He said no. They came back with more money. He said no again. Because Sylvester Stallone had one condition that was not negotiable. He had to play Rocky. Not a real movie star, not someone famous. Him, the broke man with the slurred speech and the paralyzed face who'd been told his whole life he didn't belong anywhere. The studio refused. He walked away from $325,000. They eventually came back, gave him $35,000 for the script and the lead role. The very first thing he did with that money, he went back to that 7-Eleven. He stood outside and waited. For 3 days he waited, until the man he'd sold butkus to finally walked by with the dog on a leash. Stallone explained everything, begged for the dog back. The man refused. Sly offered $100, refused. $500, refused. $1,000. The man still said no. Sylvester Stallone paid $15,000 for the same dog he'd sold for $25. He said it was worth every penny. Rocky came out in 1976. It became the highest-grossing film of the year. It won Best Picture at the Academy Awards. And Sylvester Stallone, the kid with the paralyzed face who'd slept in a bus station, received 2 Oscar nominations: Best Actor, Best Original Screenplay. Overnight, he went from invisible to iconic. But fame didn't fix everything. It never does. The marriages came and went. First wife Sasha, then actress Bridget Nielsen, a highly public, turbulent 2-year union that ended messily. Then Jennifer Flavin, who became his longest love and the mother of his 3 daughters. But even with all the success, something inside Stallone was still fighting the same war. His older son, Sage, born during his first marriage, grew up in the shadow of a father who was everywhere and somehow never quite there. In the Sly Netflix documentary, Stallone admitted with devastating honesty that he prioritized his career over his family in those years, that he put things before people and paid for it. "You put things before your family," he said, and the repercussions are quite radical and devastating. In 2012, Sage Stallone was found dead in his Los Angeles apartment. He was 36 years old, heart failure. Stallone publicly called it an agonizing loss that would be felt for the rest of his life. And in private, by all accounts, it broke something in him that has never fully healed. Then Hollywood turned on him. After the modest failure of Cop Land in 1997, a film where Stallone had stripped his body down and delivered one of the most underrated performances of his career, the industry quietly closed its doors. His agents dropped him, his manager dropped him, studios stopped calling. "For almost a decade, I couldn't find work," he recently told AARP. "Nobody wanted me. I was told these studios feel as though you're not what you were." The man who had been one of the biggest movie stars on Earth, invisible again. But here's what you need to understand about Sylvester Stallone. He has been here before. He has stood outside a convenience store holding a dog he couldn't afford to keep. He has slept on bus station floors. He has heard no so many times the word lost all its power over him. So he did what Rocky does. He got back up. 2006, he returned as Rocky Balboa, then The Expendables, then Creed in 2015, where he played an older, grayer, cancer-stricken Rocky coaching a new generation, and delivered such a raw, lived-in, heartbreaking performance that Hollywood couldn't ignore him anymore. Golden Globe, Academy Award nomination, at 69 years old. The same man still fighting. Today, Sylvester Stallone is 79. He is preparing to receive a Kennedy Center honor, one of the most prestigious lifetime achievement awards in American culture. He has his 3 daughters. He has Jennifer, still at his side after decades. He carries his losses, Sage most of all, like a man who has learned that grief doesn't go away, it just becomes part of who you are. He recently said, "I'm in the hope business, and I just hate sad endings." Neither do we, Sly. From a charity hospital in Manhattan, to a bus station floor, to standing outside a 7-Eleven holding the dog he had to give away, to Rocky, to an Oscar stage, to a Kennedy Center podium. What happened to Sylvester Stallone is simple. He refused to stay down. Every single time. Share this if it moved you, because some stories deserve to be told.